Good morning, folks. Vancouver Canucks releasing a statement this morning that they have re-signed Travis Green to a multi-year contract extension. Jim Benning says, "We are excited to have Travis Green continue to lead the Canucks as head coach and move forward from a challenging year to focus on future seasons. Our plan has always been to draft and develop a young core, surround them with supporting players who can help us win. We have some of the best young players in the NHL, and I believe Travis is the right coach to help us achieve team success and a return to the playoffs." Travis Green said, "Coaching the Vancouver Canucks has been a privilege, and I am excited at the opportunity to continue behind the bench with this team. I believe this young team and organization is on the rise. They have shown character, a strong will to win, and we expect big things in the years ahead." Now, Travis Green has been the head coach of the Vancouver Canucks for 4 seasons now. It hasn't felt like that long, but I guess the Willie D era does feel like a long time ago. Back in 2017-18, his first year as head coach of the Canucks. Not a great season for the boys, finishing last in the Pacific Division. 31 wins, 40 losses, and 11 OTLs for 73 points. A bit of a, then they grew a bit in 2018-2019, 35, 36, and 11 for 81 points, just outside of the playoffs there. And then last season, of course, the condensed season was the fun one for Canucks fans. 69 games played. The Canucks went 36, 27, and 6 for 78 points. Good enough for 4th in the Pacific Division. Now, the Canucks were sort of faltering last season down the stretch. Jacob Markstrom got hurt, but the Canucks were able to hang on by the time COVID ended the season prematurely. And then the Canucks went to the bubble and had their Cinderella run. And I think this is what Travis Green really has going for him. Lots of people see him as a pretty basic coach who has a pretty plain system of basically just getting the puck over the red line, dumping it in, and chasing after it, right? The old dump and chase. And part of that obviously comes down to not having good enough players to execute more highly complex zone entries. However, that's personally one of my gripes with Travis Green is sort of when you do have guys like Pettersson, Besser, Miller on the ice. They're not big dump and chase guys, but they have the skill to possess the puck. So that's what I have against Travis Green personally. I don't think he's an excellent coach, but I don't think he's a bad coach either. I think he's a fine coach, and considering he's coached 4 years in the NHL, I think he can still grow and mature and get better at his job, just like we're all getting better at our jobs as we go along. Now, as the Canucks entered the bubble, they went up against the Minnesota Wild, who they were expected to beat, and they did fairly handily. I think they took that series 3-1 with the big goal from Chris Tanev to seal it in Game 4 in overtime. But then they went up against the defending Stanley Cup champion St. Louis Blues. And we've seen the St. Louis Blues this year against Colorado so far in the playoffs. And, they are not the team they used to be, and Colorado is an absolute wagon. But going into that season, this was the Stanley Cup Blues that had just won the Stanley Cup. They didn't lose a lot of pieces. Maybe a little bit of that Stanley Cup hangover still looming over the Blues, but the Canucks went out and they were the better team. The Canucks really came out and showed that they could take down the defending Stanley Cup champion St. Louis Blues. And that, I think, is a testament to coaching. That is a testament to a coach who's able to get the most out of his players at the time that they really needed it against St. Louis. Now, then they went against Vegas, and this comes down to, this isn't anything I'm putting on the coach. This is more on the team building side. Vegas was such a better team than the Vancouver Canucks in the playoffs last year. But, the Canucks hung in there, and to be fair, it was all Thatcher Demko, right? It was all goaltending. The only reason that series made it to 7 games, the Canucks were outworked and outmatched in every way possible. But you know what? Travis Green's coaching definitely plays a part in how well his team performs, and the fact that they were able to take the Stanley Cup champions out and then work through Vegas and take it to 7 games, be 1 win away from the conference final. I think that's definitely a testament to a guy who's able to get the most out of his players. Now, this year has been a down year, and this really started in the off season when you would listen to the radio. You'd listen to 1040 before it went offline, or you'd listen to Sportsnet 650 here in Vancouver, and they would be talking about, well, Travis Green is going into the season without a contract, right? He's a lame duck coach. He doesn't have a contract going into next year. And personally, when I heard that, I was like, Yeah, but like it's July, like it's August, like who cares? Like they literally have 11 months to figure this out. Then the clock kept ticking, and then the season starts, and the Canucks have an abysmal February. The Canucks go 2-9-2 in the month of February, and a lot of the fan base starts to turn on Travis Green. And a lot of the fan base starts to think, well, maybe Travis Green isn't the best coach available, right? We see guys like Gerard Gallant being available and some other options as well. And you start to think, well, is it worth, pursuing this guy who, clearly isn't getting a lot out of his team here in February? Might be worth looking elsewhere. Now, I think a lot of this comes down to the way the Aquilinis like to work, and that is address everything from the top down. So they didn't want to give Travis Green a contract extension because if they were to, say, bring in a new GM at the end of this season, that GM will likely want to hire his own coach, or at least take a little bit, talk with Travis Green, and then decide. So you don't want to give Travis Green like a 3 or 4 year contract and then have a new GM come in and say, well, I don't want this guy as my coach. And then you're stuck paying Travis Green for the next 3 or 4 years to not work for you. So I think what it took was the Aquilinis thought, we're going to wait and see, and we're going to wait to make a decision on the top level. So they did. They did a couple days ago. We heard from Elliot Friedman that it came out that Jim Benning was told that he would be returning this year. So after that, then Jim Benning can go and he can say, okay, now we can sign Travis Green. Even though the season's already over, Travis Green's basically a free agent, but clearly he wants to stay here because he did have other options. Seattle did say that they wanted to interview him at least. So he did have other options, and he probably could have gotten a job somewhere else, but he decided to stay in his home province as the coach here. And now what it really comes down to is the rest of the staff, right? What does this mean for the goaltending coach, right? This is the one that a lot of Canucks fans are very laser focused on. Ian Clark, probably the best goaltending coach in the NHL. And we saw it when he was here working with the goaltenders here. Then he left for Columbus, turned Bobrovsky into a Vezina contender, and then comes back. And now Jacob Markstrom was elite, and now Thatcher Demko is elite. Ian Clark has consistently showed that he has been just a top-tier goaltending coach. And now we have guys like Thatcher Demko and Braden Holtby coming out saying, yeah, this guy's excellent, don't lose him. Like they're basically pleading to management to sign this guy. So now that Travis Green's figured out, now hopefully they will go to the Ian Clarks of the world and try to get that worked out. The other question is, what does it mean for the remaining assistant coaches, right? You have Nolan Bumgarner, who's the defensive coach. Lots of Canucks fans aren't a big fan of Nolan Bumgarner. This Canucks defense has been not great this year, and it hasn't been great for a while. And a lot of that's personnel, but a good chunk of that is coaching as well. So we'll see what the Canucks do there. Newell Brown, who coaches the power play. Canucks had a bad power play this year, and of course, part of that is losing Elias Pettersson for a good chunk of it, but you compare the Canucks power play to the Oilers power play or the Maple Leafs power play, and the first thing you will notice this 10 seconds into a power play, is the movement that occurs. The Canucks power play stands still. They set up in their umbrella. They got, one guy on each half wall, one guy on the point, and then one guy down low, and then another guy in the bumper spot in front. 100% of the time. And there's no movement. It's just passing the puck around until someone has a good shooting lane. Meanwhile, you look at Edmonton, and they have Connor McDavid, but the Canucks have Elias Pettersson, who obviously isn't as fast, doesn't have as quick hands, but he still is a very skilled player. And what Edmonton does is they basically just reload Connor McDavid. They'll get him to skate to the blue line, and then he'll skate in. They'll pass him the puck, and he'll skate in, and basically get like a quick chance off. They just keep doing that with him, and then he can just pass it to Leon Draisaitl if he has to, who will shoot from the goal line and score every time. So the Newell Brown side of it, I'm not a big Newell Brown fan. I think this power play has so much potential to do better. Lots of Canucks fans complain about the drop pass. Now, all 31 teams in the NHL utilize the drop pass on the power play. I just don't think the Canucks utilize it properly. They don't drop. It should honestly be a drop pass to Elias Pettersson every time, or Bo Horvat every time. Guys who can at least get through that first layer. And usually, they telegraph it too hard, and other teams steal it and go on 2-on-1s shorthanded. So now that the top levels are worked out, GM is locked in, coach is locked in, you can have your opinions on either one of them. I made my opinions quite clear on Jim Benning the other day. They're locked in, they're secure, And now we just wait to see how the rest of the lineup, the coaching staff, shakes up. And we'll see. Of course, I'll try to keep you updated here. That's about all I got for this one. Make sure you're subscribed. You can follow me on Twitter and everything using the links down below. And we'll talk to you later.